You're with Dion at HDpiano, and this is When Doves Cry by Prince. 1, 2, 3, 4. And that's where we're going to leave it for this part of the tutorial, covering that really iconic main riff from the song, as well as a melody version of that first verse. So we've got a couple of different sections to cover here. And before we get into this, there is one big disclaimer I need to mention, which is if you listen to the original song, there is no bass in this song. There is no bass guitar, no synth bass. There's just this drum machine, this synth part, and the singing. So therefore, everything we do in our left hand here is imagined. It's an approximation, it's an interpretation. It might not be what you imagine it to sound like, and I'll talk about that a little bit later as well. So keep that in mind. We're doing our own version here that involves both hands on the piano, even though the original doesn't have a left hand. So use that information for whatever use you see fit. A great dinner party conversation, that one. So getting stuck into this first main riff here, and starts in the right hand, above middle C. Middle C's here, so we're in the octave above middle C. And we're starting with an F major chord in first inversion, which means we have A, C, and F. F at the top. So we hit that once, we hit it short and sharp, or staccato is the kind of the technical term for that. So really bouncy. Hit that once, move the top note down to an E, hit that one twice, and then move every note down one. So now we have G, B, and D. And we hit that note, that chord once. So we have the F chord once, A minor twice, and then G once. And that pattern repeats. You might notice that the rhythm from the first time to the second time was slightly different. So it changes up the second time through. Have a listen again. 2, 3, 4. You can hear that second one has a bit of a skip to it. So the counting for the first one is really simple. We're just dealing with eighth notes. So we have 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3. So we're playing on the 1, 2, and 3. But the second time through, we're now dealing in 16th notes, which means the counting for it is 1E and a 2E and 3. That's a bit of a mouthful, so I'll slow it down for you. So we have 4E and a 1E and a 2E and a 3. Basically, we're playing on the 1, the 1E and a, then the 2 and 3. Little complicated counting-wise, but you know the song, so you know how it should sound. So trust your ears. Trust playing along with me, getting that groove happening. So we go through that riff many times. So that's kind of 4 times through. We go through that whole thing again in the intro. So we go through that passage 8 times in a row, that chord sequence. Underneath that, with the left hand, this is where things get freaky, because you ask one person and they will say, I think the left hand sounds like it goes F, G, and you ask a different person and they say, I think the left hand goes A, G. And to be honest, neither are correct and neither are wrong. It's just that there's no bass to kind of work from in the original recording. So we've gone with F to G. However, if you're one of the people that hears it as A to G, then play A to G. That's totally fine with us. Nothing is sacred here with this arrangement. So that is the main riff in the intro. Let's do that one more time all together. I'll be playing F to G in the left hand. So we have F linking in with the first chord, holding down, and then G as we hit the G chord in the right hand. And both of those hit short and sharp. Here we go, all the way through the intro. 1, 2, 3, 4. And we'll do that again at full speed at the end of this tutorial. So moving on into the first verse. Now we're going to be doing a melody version of this verse, which means the vocal melody is going to be played in the right hand. Like most songs, the vocal melody, when sung, is usually a little bit more complicated than we, reduce to the piano. So again, trust your ears. If you're used to singing along with Prince in this song and you know how the rhythm of the melody goes, might be a little different to what I'm playing, then go on your gut, go on how it sounds. I'm simplifying things a little bit just for the sake of this tutorial. So the melody starts on A, and we use lots of A's, we use lots of B's, we use lots of G's, and we use some E's. Very occasionally, we also use a G sharp. But the whole range of this melody is those 4 notes, or that span of 5 notes. So you can get yourself situated with your third finger on A. That gets you set up to cover all of the notes in this melody. So we start with A, and our first little vocal passage, we have 2, 3, 4. So we hit 4 times on that A, then up to B, walk it down to G. The second passage, we start with an E, and then 5 times on the G, a little pause, 1 more on the G, then up to a G sharp. Let's do that first, 2 sections of vocals by themselves with the right hand. 1, 2, 3, 4. 2, 3, 4. 2, 3, 4. Beautiful. The second passage, again, starts very much the same. We have the 4 hits on the A, walking down to the G, but we're going to hit the G at the end twice. So it sounds like this. 2, 3, 4. Just slightly different. As we go through, we now don't have the pickup on the E. We start straight away on the G, 2 on the G, and then down to the E, back to the G, and then 4 back down to the E. So we have 2, 3, 4. Counting of that, we have 1 and 2 and 3 and. So we're playing a bit more on the and counts. And to finish off this phrase, we now have G sharp, falling down to E, back up to the G sharp, and finishing on the A. So let's go through that entire second run of vocals, starting with the A. 2, 3, 4. 3, 4. Okay, third line starts the same as the other lines. We have the 4 on the A. Then we have 2 more on the A before we fall down to the G. So little variations here. It's so close to being the same melody, but singers being singers like to change things up, and they like to do things very differently whether they know it or not, just to match the syllables that they're singing. So in this case here, 2, 3, 4. Then we have our pickup from the E up to the G, but we go back and forth to the E and the G, and then down to the E and up to the G sharp. So let's do those 2 little blocks together. 2, 3, 4. 2, 3, 4. 2, 3, 4. And our last line of vocals starts again on the A. This time we're going to have our first B. So we're going to have 3 on the A, up to the B, then down through A, G, G, A, B. Let's do that little bit. 2, 3, 4. And to finish things off, our melody hits on G. 1 and 2 and 3, 4. So 4 on the G, then 3 on the G sharp, then on the A and B to finish up. So let's do that little part of melody all together. 2, 3, 4. And that leads into the chorus. Now, melody by itself is a little bit boring, so even though there is no bass in the actual song, we're going to put some in ourselves. So underneath our vocal line, we're going to be doing this repeating bass pattern, which is A, G, G again, then down to E. Rhythmically, we're hitting on the 1 and 2 and, so on the 1 and the 2 and, 1 and 2 and 3, 4, 1 and 2 and 3, 4, 1 and 2 and 3, 4, and so on and so forth. And to spice things up a little further, at the very end of this verse, when we had that last run of Gs and the G sharps and the A, B, I'm going to harmonize under those with a B underneath the Gs, so it'll sound like this. Keep that B for the G sharp, and as we go up to the A, move it up to a C. As we go up to the B, move it up to a D. So we keep the same distance, but moving in parallel with the melody. So that's what our left hand's doing underneath the melody. So I'm going to play you through that whole section of melody of the verse, nice and slow, with the left hand, and then we'll go through everything from the intro and the verse at full speed to finish up. So here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. Very nice. As you would have noticed there is lots of syncopation between the melody and the left hand. Sometimes they hit at the same time, sometimes they're different times. So please use the looping controls to isolate those sections that you find trickiest. All right, last thing, the whole thing again, this time at full speed. And full speed in this song is 127 beats per minute. So if you're practicing with a metronome, that's where to set it. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. And that's that. Great job so far on learning through part 1. If you're on HDpiano, just click on the next lesson to continue. And if you're on YouTube, head over to HDpiano.com for the rest of the song. Do you have a request? Well, visit requests.hdpiano.com and follow us on your favorite socials at HDpiano. If you're on YouTube, please subscribe and give us feedback in the comments. My name is Dion, and you're at HDpiano, the home of the hybrid piano lesson.